Howdy everyone, welcome back to the channel. I have another saddlebred for you guys today. This is Mari. She's a 20-year-old saddlebred, and she's also with me to be restarted and to fix some issues that she's having under saddle. So she's been with me about a month now, I think, and she's had extensive groundwork training. She would have been ridden a little bit sooner, but she had a small injury that held her back a little bit, but her groundwork is pretty solid. She's really comfortable walk, trot, lope on the lunge line and the round pin. She, however, has a speeding up issue under saddle. She gets really anxious, really uncomfortable, and as a result, she wants to just go, go, go. So that's what we're going to be working on, and hopefully giving you guys some tools that if you're having problems like these with your own horses, you can take these tools and begin to work on them with your horses. Now, it takes a long time to be able to slow down an anxious horse, one that's uncomfortable in their own body. I would say it takes about 30 days of 5-day-a-week intensive riding, and that's just how long it takes for them to really get comfortable and confident again on average. And the tools I'm going to show you guys are not super forceful, not super high in pressure. They're really gentle training methods to be able to retrain her to be more comfortable in her own body. So I've done 2 rides on her so far. The first one we just walked around, and her walk she's pretty comfortable in. She's got a little bit more of a forward moving stride. Today she's a little bit slower than she was yesterday, which is good. I'll take that as a good sign. But that jog, once we got up into that jog, that was when she started having issues. We did a little bit of jogging yesterday and just began the process of teaching her how to be comfortable in her own body so that she doesn't feel the need to speed up. That's generally what the problem is when horses are just always raring to go, is they're not comfortable in all 3 gaits, whether they've had previous bad riding experiences or they're just young and green under saddle. I've started a lot of horses that are young and just not balanced or confident yet, and as a result they just like to pick a quicker pace in each gait. And so a lot of what I'll be doing is redirecting her movements. Now there's a few different corrections that I will use, one of which is the 1 rein stop, and that'll be where I flex her down. I bring her nose to my boot and I wait for those feet to stop moving. Then I'll release the pressure and allow her to continue walking. Oh, I also want to mention about Mari. She's been extensively trained in the saddle seat discipline. She's a 5-gaited saddlebred, but she hasn't been ridden until this week in about 4 years. So it's been a long time, so there will likely be some stuff other than the speeding up that might need a refresher, but she has been very well trained in that discipline. But the owner suspects that she was always asked to go, go, go. It's a very intensive discipline where they're asked to perform to a really high level with their gaits and their movement, and we think that took a little bit of a toll on her emotional state. So that's probably part of the reason why she's very go, go, go. That's not to say that all saddlebreds are like that, or that all horses trained in saddle seat will be like that, but we think possibly that the best approach was not taken in her saddle seat training. So this is that 1 rein stop. I'm just practicing to touch it up on. She hasn't done anything worth correcting yet. But the second correction that I'll use is what I call a 180 turn or a fold. And it's where I'm just going to ask her to completely change the opposite direction. I'm going to kind of fold her over herself. And this is just a redirection of her energy. I'm not forcing her to come down. by trying to grip on with 2 reins or anything like that. Everything I do with her, it's going to be 1 rein only. The more your horse tries to push through the bit and push faster, the more you need to break it back down and go to using 1 rein at a time. A lot of people's first inclination when their horse speeds up is to really tighten up and grab on with 2 reins like this. Well, using 2 reins is a great way to teach a horse to slow down once they're already comfortable in their own body and can walk, trot, lope on a loose rein without changing speed. But in the beginning, using 1 rein at a time is really important, because she's not just going faster just because she wants to go faster. She's doing it because she's uncomfortable, and trying to bring her down with 2 reins while staying on the same line of movement is kind of like trying to put the cap on a tube of toothpaste while the horse is still squeezing the toothpaste out of that tube. She's got a lot of energy that wants to keep moving forwards, and bringing 2 reins on and trying to force her to slow down will be like that. It's like trying to press the brakes on the car while your foot's still slammed on the accelerator. It's not a good combination. So first we need to get her to realize that she can be comfortable moving out in all 3 gaits. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up the jog now, and y'all are probably going to see a little bit of what I've been talking about. See how right away that head comes up and the back hollows out, and she starts thinking about going forwards. Good girl. I didn't have to redirect her at all. If she wants to come down to the walk, we'll come right down. I'll stroke her neck a little bit, reward her for that decision. But you can immediately see how uncomfortable she is going into that trot. She's already thinking about going faster, and what she's actually anticipating is me bringing her back down. She's kind of got an anxious learned response of, if I try and go faster, that human's gonna slam on the reins and they're gonna try and rein me back in. So my head's gonna come up, I'm gonna get tense through my whole body, my back's gonna hollow out, and I'm gonna try to evade that pressure. And that's another reason why I don't want to be using a ton of pressure. I don't want to be picking up on 2 reins at the same time, because that's just reaffirming what she has in her head, that I'm gonna be forcing her to come back to me. So we're gonna go trot again, and this time I'll see if I can give you all an example of a redirection that I might use. If she were to pick up the lope, or try to pick up the lope, she almost thought about it when she hopped up in the front a little bit a second ago. If she were to try that, I bring her down to my foot, and it's not like I'm yanking her head around. If she were to completely take off on me, like try to run out the arena gate, then I'd be very quick and very firm about bringing her back to me. But again, I don't want to surprise her or use a ton of pressure. I just want her to bring her back to thinking about the rider on her back. So more or less, I'm going to be a passenger here. I'm going to go where she wants to go. As long as we stay in the trot, I'm happy. If she gets a little bit faster than I want, good. See how she immediately slowed down off of that folding turn? I'm turning her energy around 180 degrees, making her think about what's going on. Let's stay in the trot. Good girl. So if that head comes up, I'll do that folding turn. Keep going. Good girl. But unless I'm correcting her, I'm just a passenger. I'm not going to be holding on to the reins too much. I've got them handy in case I need to use them, but I'm not going to be using a ton of pressure on her face. Let's do another turn. And one of the third corrections that I do, I haven't quite gotten to that phase yet, is just a little bit of a flex and release. And it's kind of in between the first two corrections. There, just like that. Flex and release. And it's just kind of a quick, hey, come back to me. And that's the gentlest correction I'll use. So later on, when she's gotten pretty good about not speeding up, that'll just be the tiny reminder that I use. Good. And I can also kind of lean over her neck a little bit if I trust her. Rub her down some. Good. But we're going to be trotting for a little bit. This exercise takes a lot of stamina from the rider. And it's important to kind of keep going in this trot because it reminds her that not every time we jump in the trot are we only going to be doing this for a little bit. Next time we go to the trot, she's going to be like, oh, I'm going to be trotting for a while. Might as well save some of my energy. Hopefully, that's the thought. Good girl, Mari. And let's walk a little bit. Good girl. The other important thing about not worrying too much about where your horse goes is for those horses that tend to think ahead a lot, which is what Mari does. We don't want her to really think that we're on a mission. We don't want her to think, oh, we've got to get from point A to point B and then we're done. Or point A to point B to point C. We kind of just want her to go nowhere. And if we're going nowhere, she's not really going to be in a hurry to get anywhere. All right, here we go again. Good. Another thing I can do is keep her in a little circle. Good. Release and keep riding. There we go, Mari. Good. We can walk now. Good. And another thing you can do if you have trouble keeping your hands quiet is if you ride Western, like I'm sure y'all can tell I usually do, you can place your hand on top of the saddle horn, kind of curl your fingers over the top and have that be a nice neutral spot to put a free hand. Or if you ride English, you can put a finger in the mane like so, hold the reins in the mane, and use your other hand to make adjustments. Good, Mari. But I just kind of want her to learn that carrying a rider around isn't such a big deal. I'm not going to ask her to do a whole lot. I'm not going to be smacking her with a whip, poking her with spurs, or asking her to do a pee off or, extend the gait or do a ton of fancy maneuvers. She's just carrying me like I'm a backpack. The more boring I can make this, the better. Because that really is the bread and butter for horses. If you don't have the foundation of a horse being able to carry a rider all 3 gaits or all 5 gaits if you're Mari in a comfortable, relaxed, and confident manner, then there's not much you can pile on top that's going to be useful. And let's walk. Good. She's already much improved from yesterday and much improved from the beginning of our ride. Hi, Freya. Freya can be a little bit obnoxious sometimes. All right, you ready to go again, Mari? Here, okay. And let's walk. Walk. Good. And like I said, this is going to be a long road for Mari, but she's already made a lot of progress. But during this time in her training, I'm not even going to worry about steering off the leg. I'm not going to worry about collection. I'm not going to worry about lateral movement, shoulder control, hip control. I'll do some of that stuff at the walk because she's pretty comfortable in the walk. But my number one priority, like I said, is that foundation. She's ought to be able to carry a person, walk, trot, lope, and be comfortable and confident in her own body. I'm probably gonna wait till I get this drill down fairly decently at the trot till we move on to the lope. But I'm gonna go ahead and introduce the next one to you. This one's involves some steering, and it's called the cloverleaf drill. So what I'm gonna be doing here, so I'm going to be making like a 4-leaf clover pattern. I'm only going to be making these right turns. And this drill is most effective at the lope for slowing that lope down, but it has its purposes at the trot as well. So every time I get to the middle of the side, I'm going to be making right hand turn, cut across the middle. Here I am at the middle, the side here, right hand turn, come across the middle. Good. And this drill is super awesome if you've got a big pasture to do it in. Loping in big pastures is one of the best ways to slow your horse's brain down. After enough of that, they're never going to be in a hurry to get anywhere again. It's not going to be fun at first, but good. And again, I'm using as little rein contact to steer her as possible. And if she were to totally break into the lope, I'd do a 1 rein stop and then continue on the pattern. If she would get a little too fast for my liking while being on a straight line, I can take her on a tiny circle, send her back out again. Now I'm going to do this drill again, heading to the left. Yes, ma'am. We're going a new way now. Oh, that means we must spook on this side. So same thing. Every time we get to the middle of one of these sides, we make a left-hand turn. And when we get to the end of this line here, make a left-hand turn, continue on a side until she's feeling like, oh my goodness, why am I still long trotting when I could be doing little pony trot? She's had a few minutes here, or a few moments where she's had that thought. We haven't quite got the full realization yet. Girl. Like I said, rider absolutely has to have stamina for this. You got to be able to outlast your horse. Good. All right, and we can walk now. Walk. Good girl. She found a pretty consistent pace there those last couple minutes. So I'm going to let her walk out some. Good, and then we're going to get back to the first drill, see if there's a marked improvement. Once we get some really nice improvement, that's when we'll call it quits for today. But yeah, I'm not going to be loping on her until the trot gets fairly decent. Which I don't think it'll take but a few more tries to get halfway okay. But that lope is usually the hardest one to slow down. In the lope, a horse needs a whole lot more balance, a whole lot more control over the body, and it's a lot easier for them to get emotional in the lope. All right, let's jog back to drill number 1. There we go. Good, Mari. Oh, another cool fact, come on, I want to mention, this is good, she doesn't even want to trot anymore. She's like, oh my goodness, this is the worst. We'll just go a little bit longer. But another, no, we're not going over here, it's too wet over here. Good girl. Cool fact about them too is that they are both about to be shipped in about a month to go overseas. They're going to be the first saddlebreds in the United Arab Emirates. Their owner lived in the States and owned these two for several years, but her husband's a Marine and he works overseas now, so that's where they live. And they've been there 2 years now, and the horses are about ready to join her. So that's the biggest reason they came back in training now when they did. Good, let's walk. I like where her mind's at right now. Good. So they'll be ready to go after they finish their quarantine and be ready to be back riding with their owner again. But yeah, I'm happy with Mari's improvement today. Even though she's still got a lot to work on, you could tell in the first, minute of her trotting around how extremely uncomfortable she was with the head in the air, the back hollowed out, trying to push like she was expecting me to grab onto her face. She was tossing her head up a little bit like she was expecting that pressure. I'm just going to tell her, like, hey, it's not coming. There's no yanking on the bit that's going to happen unless you crazy take off on me, but I think that I don't have to worry about that. So all this trotting and redirecting and trotting and redirecting, eventually she's going to get real bored of going fast. Eventually she's going to be real comfortable carrying a person. She's going to pretty much realize it's no different than carrying around a saddle that maybe talks and moves a little bit extra. And that's when she'll start getting comfortable in her body again. Because like I said, she's real comfortable and confident in her body in regular groundwork. She just, I think, has some bad memories of previous riders from her past, and has a lot of anxiety, a lot of tension, and it's going to take a little while for her to forget about all of that. But hopefully I'll be making an update on her at some point, and you'll be able to see how she's coming along. I definitely want to get some more footage once we start loping her, because I might have some more stuff that I have to work through. But I hope this guy helped you guys with your horses if you're having a similar issue. And this is just kind of how I start to teach a horse to be really comfortable in their body. So let me know if you have any questions. You can leave those in the comments below. And Mari's about done for today. So thank you guys for watching.